Fast forward to the past. Welcome to the 90s. Remember the days before smartphones and social media? When communication meant picking up a landline phone and kids played outside without any digital distractions? Imagine a time when the internet was a new and exciting frontier and music came on cassette tapes. The sound of a dial-up modem connecting was the gateway to a world of information. That, my friends, was the 1990s, a decade of unique fashion, unforgettable trends, and a sense of community. Buckle up as we take a trip back in time to revisit this awesome decade. A time when life was simpler, yet full of excitement and innovation. Get ready for a blast from the past, filled with neon colors, catchy tunes, and a whole lot of fun. Rollerblades, boomboxes, and cassette tapes were the epitome of cool. The 90s were a time of change and innovation. Early computers with CRT monitors and the first-generation mobile phones were just the beginning. It was a decade where technology started to transform our lives, but things were still refreshingly simple. Families gathered to play board games, and friends hung out at parks. We didn't have instant access to everything at our fingertips, and that made experiences feel more special. Waiting outside a movie theater or navigating with paper maps added to the adventure. Remember the excitement of waiting for your favorite TV show to come on, or the thrill of finally getting your hands on the latest video game? The anticipation made it all the more rewarding. The 90s were also a time of great music, fashion, and pop culture. Band posters adorned bedroom walls and themed parties were all the rage. From grunge to hip-hop, the music scene was bursting with creativity. Each genre brought its own unique style and energy. Fashion was all about comfort and self-expression, with trends like grunge, hip-hop, and rave culture all making their mark. Flannel shirts, ripped jeans, and colorful rave outfits were everywhere. And who could forget the iconic TV shows, movies, and video games that defined the decade? Shows like Friends and gaming consoles like the Nintendo 64 became cultural landmarks. So, whether you lived through the 90s or just want to experience the magic for yourself, get ready for a trip down memory lane. A room filled with 90s memorabilia can transport you back in time. We're about to dive into a world of dial-up internet, boy bands, and the coolest toys and gadgets ever. Tamagotchis and boy bands ruled the scene. Get ready to party like it's 1999. The 90s were a time of celebration, and every New Year's Eve felt like a grand event. Saturday morning cartoons and TGIF, the golden age of TV. The 90s were a golden age for television, especially for kids and teenagers. Saturday mornings were dedicated to cartoons, with shows like Rugrats, Doug, and Animaniacs keeping us glued to the screen. These shows weren't just entertaining, they were clever, funny, and often had surprisingly deep storylines. And who could forget the iconic lineup of TGIF shows? Full House, Family Matters, and Step by Step provided the perfect dose of family-friendly humor and heartwarming moments. These shows brought families together and created memories that have lasted a lifetime. But it wasn't just the kids' shows that made 90s television so special. Shows like Friends, Seinfeld, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air broke new ground with their witty writing, relatable characters, and hilarious situations. These shows captured the zeitgeist of the decade and continue to be enjoyed by audiences of all ages today. From the animated adventures of our favorite cartoon characters to the hilarious antics of our favorite sitcom stars, 90s television had something for everyone. It was a time when we could gather around the TV with our families and friends and escape into a world of laughter, adventure, and heartwarming stories. Super Mario and Sonic: A Pixelated Paradise. For many of us, the 90s were the golden age of video games. It was the decade that saw the rise of iconic gaming consoles like the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and PlayStation. These consoles brought us groundbreaking games that pushed the boundaries of graphics, gameplay, and storytelling. Games like Super Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Donkey Kong Country transported us to colorful worlds filled with challenging levels and unforgettable characters. We spent countless hours collecting coins, battling enemies, and trying to save Princess Peach from the clutches of Bowser. But the 90s weren't just about platformers. The decade also saw the rise of fighting games like Street Fighter II and Mortal Kombat, which became instant classics and spawned countless sequels and spin-offs. And who could forget the adrenaline-fueled racing action of Mario Kart and Daytona USA? These games weren't just a way to pass the time, they were social events. We gathered at each other's houses, controllers in hand, ready to battle it out on the digital battlefield. These shared gaming experiences created lasting memories and friendships. Section 4. Flannel shirts and butterfly clips, the iconic style of the 90s. The 90s were a time of bold and eclectic fashion choices. Grunge, hip-hop, and rave culture all influenced the way we dressed, creating a unique blend of styles that defined the decade. Comfort and self-expression were key, with people embracing a more relaxed and individualistic approach to fashion. Grunge fashion, born out of the Pacific Northwest music scene, was all about ripped jeans, oversized flannel shirts, and combat boots. Think Kurt Cobain and Pearl Jam. It was a rebellion against the polished look of the 80s, embracing a more authentic and laid-back aesthetic. Hip-hop fashion, on the other hand, was all about bold colors, baggy silhouettes, and statement accessories. Think oversized gold chains, bucket hats, and sneakers. Influenced by the music and culture of hip-hop artists like Tupac and the Notorious Big, this style became a symbol of urban youth culture. And then there was rave culture, with its neon colors, psychedelic patterns, and futuristic accessories. Think platform shoes, glow sticks, and baggy pants. Rave fashion was all about embracing the energy and freedom of electronic dance music and creating a sense of community on the dance floor. But the 90s weren't just about these subcultures. There were also mainstream trends like butterfly clips, scrunchies, choker necklaces, and slip dresses that became ubiquitous throughout the decade. These trends were all about embracing a more feminine and playful aesthetic. Section 5. Dial-up and Discman's technology in the 90s. The 1990s were a time of significant technological advancements, particularly in the realm of personal computers and the internet. It was a decade where technology began to infiltrate our daily lives in ways previously unimaginable. The decade witnessed the rise of dial-up internet, which, while painfully slow by today's standards, provided a groundbreaking new way to connect with the world. The screeching sound of the modem was a familiar tune in many households. The iconic sound of a dial-up modem connecting was the soundtrack to countless hours spent exploring the early days of the World Wide Web. It was a time of discovery and excitement, despite the frequent frustrations of slow connections. The internet itself was a vastly different landscape than what we know today. Websites were simpler, often text-heavy, and graphics were basic. Social media platforms as we know them didn't exist, and search engines were in their infancy. Alta Vista and Yahoo were among the pioneers, guiding us through the vast, uncharted territories of the web. Instead, we frequented chat rooms, message boards, and the occasional website, marveling at the novelty of it all. These were the early forms of online communities where people connected over shared interests. Beyond the internet, portable CD players, or Discmans as they were popularly known, revolutionized the way we listened to music. They offered a new level of portability and convenience. No longer tethered to bulky boomboxes or Walkmans with their limited cassette capacity, we could now enjoy our favorite albums on the go with relative ease. The Discman became a staple for music lovers everywhere. The freedom to create mix CDs, personalized soundtracks for every mood and occasion was a revelation. It allowed us to curate our own musical experiences, a precursor to today's playlists. The 90s also saw the rise of cell phones, though they were a far cry from the smartphones we know today. These devices were the first step towards mobile communication. These early models were bulky, expensive, and primarily used for making calls. They were a status symbol, often seen in the hands of business professionals. Text messaging was in its infancy, and mobile internet was but a distant dream. Yet the ability to send short messages was a glimpse into the future of communication. Yet even in their rudimentary form, cell phones began to change the way we communicated, offering a newfound sense of connectivity. They laid the groundwork for the mobile revolution that was to come. Section 6. Grunge, hip-hop, and boy bands, the music that defined a generation. The 1990s was a decade of diverse and influential music, giving rise to genres that continue to resonate with listeners today. It was a time when musical boundaries were pushed and new sounds emerged, capturing the hearts and minds of millions. Grunge, emerging from the rainy streets of Seattle, captured the angst and disillusionment of a generation with its raw, guitar-driven sound. This genre was more than just music. It was a cultural movement that spoke to the youth's frustrations and desires for authenticity. Bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden dominated the airwaves, their lyrics often exploring themes of alienation, rebellion, and social commentary. These bands became the voice of a generation, their music anthems for those who felt misunderstood. Hip-hop continued its ascent to mainstream dominance in the 90s, evolving both musically and lyrically. The genre's beats and rhymes became more complex, reflecting the changing landscape of urban America. Artists like Tupac Shakur, the Notorious Big, and Nas brought a new level of social consciousness to the genre, addressing issues of race, poverty, and violence in their music. Their powerful lyrics and storytelling abilities resonated deeply with listeners, making them legends in their own right. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry, while tragic in its outcome, fueled a period of intense creativity and innovation in hip-hop. This rivalry pushed artists to new heights, resulting in some of the most memorable tracks of the decade. On a lighter note, the 90s saw the rise of boy bands and girl groups, carefully crafted pop acts that sent teenagers into a frenzy. These groups were meticulously designed to appeal to the masses, with their polished looks and catchy tunes. The Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and the Spice Girls dominated the charts with their catchy hooks, synchronized dance moves, and undeniable charm. Their music videos and live performances were spectacles that captivated audiences worldwide. These groups tapped into the universal language of pop music, creating anthems of love, heartbreak, and teenage dreams. Their songs became the soundtrack to many young lives, leaving an indelible mark on pop culture. Beyond these dominant genres, the 90s offered a smorgasbord of musical flavors. From alternative rock to electronic music, there was something for everyone, reflecting the decade's eclectic tastes. Alternative rock bands like Green Day, Oasis, and Radiohead achieved massive success with their distinct sounds and introspective lyrics. These bands pushed the boundaries of rock music, each bringing their unique style and perspective to the genre. Electronic music, from the underground raves to the pop charts, gained a foothold, paving the way for the EDM explosion of the 21st century. The 90s saw the rise of influential DJs and producers who would shape the future of electronic music. The 90s was a decade where there was truly something for everyone, a testament to the power and diversity of music. It was a time when genres collided and new sounds were born, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to inspire artists today.